And alright, guys, what's the story? Welcome along to 420 News. I'm your show host, Martin Condon, and 420 News is brought to you by Martin's World. Guys, what's the story? Hope you're all well out there. I'm just gonna get this wire out of my way, actually. Phew, decent, happy days. So guys, it's Monday. I hope you had a good weekend. I had a savage weekend. Weather was beautiful, and got to hang out with the family and the kids at the fun fair. So I hope yours was equally as enjoyable as mine. We didn't go climbing no mountains this weekend, but maybe next weekend if the weather's permitting. So guys, in today's 420 news, we're going to do the international segment first. We have a few bits there from America, France, and the UK, and then we've got quite a bit from Ireland. And it seems like Cork got a bit of a hammer in there over the weekend from the boys in the blue. The Gardaí, the peacekeepers, seemed like they don't really want to be keeping much peace in the streets of Cork because they're taking one of the more peace-causing substances off the streets. Yes, cannabis I'm talking about. So before we get to that anyway, the first bit of news today is it's breaking. Yes, it's breaking news, and we have Kelso here helping me. So it's a little hint to where we're going. So I don't know if you guys have seen that '70s show, and you know of Fiction Point and Wisconsin. So that's where we're going for the first segment. We're going to Wisconsin, and there's a little county in Wisconsin, and it's not fictional point actually. It is Rock County, and Rock County have taken it upon themselves to change the penalties for cannabis possession within their little county. So what they've done is they've gone and instead of like a person getting criminalized for it and having whatever the fine was before, which was probably hefty, you now just get a $1 on the spot fine for up to an ounce of cannabis. That's handy, and the only reason they've done this is because they couldn't legalize cannabis at all. The county couldn't do that. It's only the state, I'd imagine, could do that. Wisconsin state. So the county to get around this little thing, look, they said they know voters are in favor of having this law changed. So they went ahead and they just done what they could and they reduced the penalty to $1. Now, if Red had a comment on this, he would say, dumbasses, just legalize it already. But look, these guys' hands are tied at the county level. They couldn't do much to the FERP, so props to them anyway for doing this, and that's a good move in my books anyway. Like anything, like it's progress, steps forward. So the next thing, guys, is going to be bringing us to the Emerald Triangle. I don't know if you've heard of the Emerald Triangle, but currently in the area there, it's kind of up in Northern California there, that kind of region, up near Oregon as well, I think is close to that region. Um, there's a lot of fires going on up there at the moment, and there's one particular place in the Emerald Triangle that is having a particular, like, it's going to have a knock-on effect on the cannabis industry in some certain regards because there's millions upon millions of dollars worth of cannabis currently at risk of being affected by this. There's crops that are going to be burnt, but there's also going to be the crops that don't get burnt are going to be affected because the clouds coming up from these fires, and the ash and stuff being thrown up into the air, it's blocking out the light. And the ashes falling on the plants of nearby harvests or nearby crops. So that kind of has a bit of an effect there too on the plants. So that's definitely going to have a knock-on effect there at a time when in October, this time of the year is what they call in that area Croptober. It's when all of the people outside will descend upon the area for jobs, trimming and harvesting. A very busy time for that area because it's one of the focal points of cannabis growing in the legal industries in America, in the legal states in America. In one place there, it's called. I'm just going to make sure I don't get this wrong. It's called Trinity Pines. Trinity Pines is in one of these affected areas where recently the cops in the area went in and asked people to leave. They couldn't force them to leave just yet, but they asked them to vacate. None of them would. And up in that area, I think they said there's 40 legal cannabis grows. So these are 40 grows that are legal and registered and compliant with all of that stuff. And they reckon that each of these farms could have upwards of $500,000 worth of crops, so 40 by 500,000 up. That's $20 million. Their revenue possibly going up in smoke. That's not in the way they intended it to go up in smoke. And then in that same area, they reckon there is about 10 times as many illegal grows. I don't know what the size of those is. Would they be still on the same size scale? But probably not. But some of them could be very well on the same size. 500,000 upwards. They're at risk too, and people are willing to stay there and protect that. So just before I drive on from that, then there's a lot of firefighters out there right now involved in these fights. Some of them volunteers, like the woman we see pictured there, who's a volunteer firefighter there in California. So props to these guys going out there, putting their lives on the lines, protecting people's homes and businesses and all of that. Hopefully something happens there into the future. There's proper forestry management where they don't leave so much fuel around waiting for a fire just to happen. That it's managed in a bit more of a controllable measure, way. But yeah, props to those firefighters anyway up there in California, and I hope they all go home safe and sound after the hard work they put in. So onwards we go, guys. We're hopping on a plane and vive la France. We're heading to our buddies in France. Um, it's a little edition of the world's dumbest criminals. The cannabis world's dumbest criminals. I don't know, but six thieves in France took it upon themselves to go and tried to steal a farmer's hard worked crop, a crop they put a lot of sweat and I don't know, hopefully not blood into, but a lot of sweat anyway. Hard work went into producing this crop, and six thieves thought they were the highly valuable form of cannabis, but it wasn't. It was just the industrial type that was going to be used for making fiber and seeds. Not even the type that would have been for CBD. I'm pretty. This is just the seed and fiber type. Even though there is CBD types within those seed and fiber, there probably might be some CBD in that stuff, but that's not what the farmer was going to use it for. But the lads, this says they took 200 foot worth of cannabis plants over 2 nights. And it's not even like the worst part of this, okay, is on the second night they got interrupted in the middle of the robbery. And they shot at the guy who interrupted them, which was a farmhand, so some like local guy working on the farm. And he probably heard them out there in the field, six of them, chopping down plants. They're bound to have made a bit of noise. And they had a shotgun there and they shot at the guy. Ridiculous, and mainly just because of prohibition. These guys thought this stuff is worth a bit of money. Meanwhile, it's not worth. It's worth something to the farmer, in the bulk form, but like the little bit the boys were taking, like even if they smoked the whole lot of what they would take, and they probably wouldn't have even like they would have got a headache before they would have got a high. So there's your dumbest criminals for the day, guys. Don't go robbing hemp from a field if you come across it. Take a photo with it if you want, appreciate it. But like that's some farmer's crop, and most likely, if it's in Ireland or somewhere in Europe, it's not some high THC variety. Especially when you see it's like tall and lanky. If there's big fat juicy buds there, and it's that's a different story. But still, even then, just take a photo, leave it there, like somebody done hard work, like to that. You see a lot of sad stories there online with fellas coming back and their plants are after being robbed. They do a bit of guerrilla growing, go out in the countryside, find what they think is a secluded spot, and they later find out that someone's been watching them and waiting, and they go down and steal the plant and the harvest just before the grower gets an opportunity to do it. Um, Shame on those guys. Shame on them. Hopefully soon we can just grow this stuff out our back garden and not have to worry about this stuff, where it's not worth so much that somebody would go to the efforts of robbing it with a shotgun. Like, just think of this for example, right? Beef is pricey and everything, but like, when was the last time we had a fella go in and rob someone's cow? And it probably happens. I just haven't heard of it at all. But the cannabis crops, they do it. Or for example, when was the last time somebody went in and robbed a greenhouse of its lettuce, or thyme, parsley, oregano, like you name the herb? When was the last time you heard of somebody go in and actually, like, with a shotgun and rob a crop like that? I know it's only with cannabis because of the prohibition that exists. That is it for France. Oh, they caught the guys. They caught the six thieves, and they're going to be in court in November. And onwards from there, guys, we're going to hop on a short trip just across the water to the UK. And oops, after here, we're going to be getting back to Ireland. So in the UK, guys, there was a guy brought before the court, and he was caught with cannabis plants. And his reason for having those cannabis plants is he couldn't get in touch with his dealer. So this guy, basically, that was his excuse because of the lockdown and the coronavirus. His dealer was out of stock or out of touch, whatever was the case. So the guy just took it upon himself to grow some cannabis. This was in Madison. Oh no, not Madison. Sorry, this was in Melton in the UK. So that's up by Leicester. I think that's by. So yeah, your man was caught with six plants altogether. And when the cops came and like took the grow, he was just like, "Yeah, I had to do this because I couldn't get any weed." And there's a lot of people out there like this. I know myself from talking to people within the kind of the community and the circles. There's a lot of people taking up cannabis growing because of the lockdown and because of the droughts that are happening. A lot of people's sources have dried up, and I will tell people, go and grow your own. This excuse is very valid excuse, to be honest, and I think there's others to go with it. You want to reduce the harms related to sourcing your drugs from the black market. You don't want to support criminals who import these drugs. Criminals who we might talk about there a little bit later on. There's many nefarious guys out there support that you support when you buy cannabis from some unknown sources. You just don't know who you're supporting really, because this is a black market, and it's hard to tell. You get some dank bud off somebody there, and you think like, oh yeah, decent. I got cheese there from Johnny, and Johnny looked after me, like, but fucking Johnny got it off of Tony, and Tony got it off of I don't know, the Chinese triads who used like fucking, I don't know, some human trafficking slaves to bring it in or to grow it, or you just don't know what they're up to really. They're definitely not paying people a fair wage anyway, and giving them proper employment rights such as I don't know, health insurance and things like that. As opposed to in places in America now where yeah, people get health insurance when they're employed by a good company anyway within the cannabis community. They look after their employees. So yeah, your man. Interesting actually. For six cannabis plants in the UK, this guy got a £346 fine. I don't know where they get the 46. Like, I was in a 45 or just 350, 350. I don't know. £346. I don't know. I just think that's a strange one. Maybe it's the evaluation of each plant, like, but yeah, it's a funny one. But look, it's a small fine nonetheless. Obviously, I agree that there shouldn't be any fine associated with growing your own cannabis plants, but I think it's rather small. And then he had to pay a prosecution cost of £85. And the real one that baffles me then in the UK is this victim surcharge. Like, who's the victim here? Like, seriously, who is the victim? I don't understand that. So like that's the punishment your man got, like 6 cannabis plants. But something I want to close in on this case actually was this guy bypassed the mains electricity, so he was stealing electricity from the grid. Now I don't know, maybe he's a qualified electrician or something like that, and he knew exactly what he was doing. But like guys, do not do that. Pay for your electricity. Like if you're not like growing Pablo Escobar style amounts of cannabis, like massive amounts, you're not going to consume that much electricity. Like, come on, just just pay for your electricity. Like, it's not that much. Like, even if you're pulling like 2,000 kilowatt hours for 12 hours of the day, or even 24 hours of the day, it's not that much, compared to what you would pay on the street for the same amount of cannabis. Like 2,000 kilowatts is a load. Like you could grow cannabis very successfully with 1,000 kilowatts. Or with 1,000 watts, sorry, 1 kilowatt. Like that's a lot. You'd very easily do it. Like, so don't be stealing electricity. Don't be bypassing the grid. It's dangerous. You're going to cause fires. It's just one of the no-nos in cannabis growing. It's going to get you caught, and it's very tarnishing to the reputation of the cannabis growing community too. We don't want to be seen as people who do this stuff. We need to abide by the laws as such. Just be selective in the ones we break, and don't put people needlessly at risk, because otherwise we're going to have community alerts put out about like cannabis growers who steal electricity and put your house at risk because they might be growing next door and they might catch your house on fire. This is the propaganda that they're going to put out there. And if people are bypassing the electricity like this guy, you're just giving like ammunition to the propagandists, to the prohibitionists, to the guys who want to keep prohibition in place. So please, guys, don't do this. Pay for your electricity, and do it safely. Please, grow safely. Get qualified electricians in where you can, and don't skimp out on electrical products too. Wish is great and all that, like, but seriously, you plug something in there and you're going to leave it alone for a bit of time, and if it gets a bit hot and it catches on fire, like, this is why your cannabis grow is going to get caught then, because you tried to skimp out on, an electronic like a ballast or something, and you went for something cheap and shoddy. Don't, guys. You get what you pay for at the end of the day. And seriously, when it comes to electronics and high power ones like ballasts for HPS and metal halide lights, don't skimp out at all, please. So that's just my little public service announcement there. I think we're going to drive on there from the UK. Oh yeah, another one actually. Before I leave this guy, he also got caught because the cops were in the area investigating something else. They might have been calling into the neighbours for whatever reason or something. Maybe an unpaid parking fine, something simple, and they smelt cannabis. So another public service announcement there, guys, is carbon filters. If you don't know what a carbon filter is, go do some homework. I'd advise you get one if you're going to grow cannabis, because it will avoid these unnecessary visits from officers of the law. So carbon filters, guys, essential. Along with a well sealed and a well sealed growing environment where the flow of air is controlled so that it only leaves through the carbon filter. There you go now, guys. Public service announcement brought to you by Martin Conlon from Martin's World. So be safe, guys, and don't be silly. Keep it simple. So, guys, let's hop on and we come on home. Let's do this. Let's get home. So the first part of our journey home is going to bring us to a European study that was released there. This was back from 2019, actually, and this study found that Ireland it ranks third for drug-related deaths in Europe. So Europe's average for drug-related deaths is 17 people per million. And guess where Ireland is in 2017? This is the figures are from. we were at 70 people per million. So we were 3 times above the European average. So that's alarming in certain regards. And I have a little infographic up here. And if you're only listening to this in audio format, it's showing a map of Europe and its colours referencing the cases per million, per population. These are deaths related to drugs, and Ireland is in the color of above 40 per million. As I said, it is 70 per million, but other countries up there with it are the UK. You've Norway, Sweden, Finland, some of those northern regions. You've Germany included in there, or not Germany. Sorry, you've yeah, that's German. No, geez, my geography is all over the gaff. That's Holland, is it? Anyhow, shit, I shouldn't have given away there. I didn't really do too well on my maps and geography. I was great with the meanders and the rivers and the deltas, all that stuff, but terrible with maps. But anyhow, look, I digress. Portugal is the main focus on this map. I want to compare Ireland and Portugal, and the main reason for that is 2002, Portugal decriminalized all drugs. And look, and what you see here on this map is Portugal isn't the same color as Ireland. It's the lightest shade possible on the scale. It's less than 10 per million in the population. So this is Portugal, a country where back in 2002 they were having an opiate epidemic and a big problem with kind of diseases related to injecting drugs. And look where they are now today. Well done, Portugal. Fair play. But like, look where Ireland is at. Come on, guys, get your head out of the sand. We had Professor Jouglo over here doing a tour before. I know you guys were over there, and you met him and his team too. So, what's your excuse? Why are we lagging behind so much? And in the middle of a pandemic now, we've our cops going like fucking head over heels for cannabis growers. Like they're raiding them all over the place, like, and they're just catching people everywhere for cannabis. It's ridiculous. Another piece within the study that I also wanted to focus in on was the study had a little section there on synthetic cannabinoids, and I just read the paragraph there from that section on synthetic cannabinoids. There was only 3 paragraphs in it. What synthetic cannabinoids are being used in Europe among young people and vulnerable groups, including prisoners, homeless people, and opioid injectors. The effects of synthetic cannabinoids often appear more pronounced and severe than those of cannabis and can induce symptoms such as tachycardia, which is basically speeding up your heart, kind of very fast heart rate, delirium, obviously just craziness, I suppose, seizures, psychosis, and anxiety. Worldwide, an increase in severe poisonings and deaths associated with these substances has been observed, with at times large outbreaks of mass poisonings overwhelming emergency responders and emergency rooms. So, like there you go. Like the synthetic cannabinoids. Okay, the only reason these are on the market is because cannabis is illegal. It's in the name. It's a synthetic form of a cannabinoid. They basically tried to manipulate the molecules to be a different molecule that wasn't regulated by our drug laws, so it was technically legal for a while. One of the more infamous of these was Spice and K2. These are two quite well known synthetic cannabinoid containing products. Um, but these are actually starting to make a bit of a reappearance as of lately. I'm hearing now these synthetic cannabinoids are being sprayed on cannabis. Cannabis that might be stripped of its more valuable compounds, and then being resprayed afterwards to look good again, to look sparkly or whatever. So it's quite dangerous, and there's a major need for our regulators to step in and not put tougher laws in place, but instead put effective policies in place that allow people to get access to natural, safe cannabinoids. So they no longer want these synthetic cannabinoids. It's a no-brainer at this stage. The longer we keep prohibition in place, the longer these synthetic cannabinoids are going to be taking lives. And yes, they take lives, guys, because the effects of these, like some of the products can be 5 times more potent than, say, your average bag of cannabis. Others can be 100. Some can be nearly 1,000 times more potent. And look, I'll admit that's probably a bit of propaganda on my part to really demonize these things. Like, but like they're synthetic chemicals. They're incredibly potent, and they're very cheap and readily available too. You know, you can get these quite easily. You buy in a big bag of this stuff from China or whatever, and as I say, it's a lot of it is legal, so it can be delivered to your door, and you're not breaking the law. I know they introduced the NPS, the novel psychoactive substances bill there in 2017, I think that was, or maybe 2016. Um, but it's still, you know, there's still stuff gets in, and this spice stuff was still being sold, or incense, as some shops were calling it. And you know, there has been lives taken on this. You know, above in Monaghan, that there was two young people that lost their lives above there. You know, I think the story was a €3 bag of this legal high, that he was able to get it for €3, and sadly it was just potent enough to cause him to have a fatal seizure. The guy went into a coma and never came out of it, and his friend, I think, sadly followed him too in the same situation. You've another case then as well in Belfast. This was of Catherine Kenny. Catherine Kenny was a woman in her 30s, and she was a homeless woman actually, and one of the mentioned vulnerable groups from that earlier study, being homeless, you know, because as I said, this stuff is quite cheap to get and to buy. So you could probably get 5 grams of this synthetic cannabis, as they would call it, and for the price that you might get 1 gram or maybe 2 grams of proper cannabis. So like a homeless person on the street, and you've got €20, you know, you're going to get the most you can. And as I said, this stuff is potent as well. It's value for money in certain regards, if your aim is to get off your face, kind of, you know, as kind of some people do, to numb the pain of being, you know, homeless and living on the street, or whatever, like kind of suffering a person might be going through, you know, to lead them to abuse drugs, to numb their pain, or to use drugs to self medicate. I don't know whatever way you want to look at it, or whatever kind of terminology you want to apply to it, but basically, homeless people, you know, using drugs, it kind of numbs the pain. It makes life easier for them. And sadly, you know, we've seen the cases even in Cork there, where they bust your man selling the cheap alcohol. There was a market there for that because of the government's policy for slapping tax on the alcohol. This is what happens. You keep putting up the price. Like, if they introduce their minimum pricing and all of this crack, like, it's just going to put these vulnerable groups more at risk. Um, and this is what prohibition does as well. Essentially, like, these people are being priced out of being able to buy good quality cannabis now, and they probably need it more than most people. Being in ill health on the street, you probably need something that'll give your immune system a bit of a boost, as cannabis as has been shown to do, if you're getting the right variety of it. But no, and if you're getting these synthetic cannabinoids, you're just gonna be zonked and be found dead in a doorway, as Catherine Kenny was at 32 years of age, I think it was, that sadly she lost her life to these synthetic cannabinoids that would never have really been finding their place in our society if it wasn't for the prohibition of cannabis. So, prohibitionists, take a bow. This one is for you. Do you know? I hope you're proud of yourselves, guys. Wicklow is our next port of call, guys. Wicklow was it last this was Thursday or Friday. This came from last Thursday or Friday. So there was €600,000 worth of cannabis found in Wicklow, and they also found €130,000 worth of cash, euros, like money. That's a nice weekend there for the cops. I've quite a few other bits and pieces that they got, like, but that's a substantial amount of money. Um, this is for the boys, obviously. This doesn't go in. I don't think this goes back into the revenue. I don't think anyway. Is this for the Gardaí to use? It's quite a lucrative little thing they've gone there for themselves. Like, fair enough, the cannabis 600,000. It's not worth much to them. It's most likely going to be destroyed. Don't think that they've much brain cells up there to kind of realize the potential of maybe turning this crop into a medicine in some ways. Like, you could definitely use it. There's companies in Ireland that have access. Like, we could send this stuff away to get gamma radiated so it can be sterile, and we can extract all of the compounds and make some free medicine for patients. But nah, we're going to burn it, incinerate it, because it's an illegal narcotic, and it's a stain in our society. It needs to be removed. Man, I don't know how these prohibitionists keep a straight face, like when they're in there like arguing to support prohibition. They know it's all a big scam and a lie. Come on, like 130,000 there into the pocket there for some cops. Like, I wonder, is that actually what they found? Like, well, it might have been 200 grand there. Like, seven cops in the team going in there, looking at each other. Right, boys, 10 grand each. Job, weekend sorted. Lockdown party. Like, it's, come on, like, as I always say, like, these cops, like, they're not getting paid enough at all for the job they do. They're not, like, and look at them. They're going in there taking down these massive criminals armed with guns and shit. Like, these criminals up in Dublin, like, they're on an outer level, machine guns and all sorts of crack. So this is what our cops are up against. This was an intelligence-led operation again, so man hours put into this by our cops. Like, it wasn't just some random stop and search at all. Like, so what happened here is they stopped the car. A dude in his and he was 42 was found in the car, and he had a suitcase full of cannabis. So his car was stopped. He was found with the suitcase full of cannabis. Another car was stopped and searched. Then later on, a guy who was 42 was then arrested. He was found to be carrying €85,000 in cash in his car. Apparently, he was just minding it for Bertie Ahern. Apparently, Bertie Ahern still doesn't have a bank account. But yeah, 85 grand. Like, what was his excuse? Like, just lodging this there. By just lodging it, or just withdrew it. I want it there at the bookies. 85 grand, some lump in your pocket. And then they went and they followed up and done a search of a house then as well. And at the house, they arrested four more people, three men and a woman. And at the gaff, then they found €45,000 worth of cash and some small quantities of cannabis as well, actually. So there you go, like a nice productive weekend there. Like, I'm sure those cops know, you know what I mean? Yeah, we done a good job, like, seriously, like, like their job would be so much easier if we were to just legalize and regulate it. Like, a politician could do more good than any guard out there fighting to take this stuff off the streets. Instead of fighting to take it off the streets, you write some policies to take it off the streets, and you put it into legitimate stores and off the streets. Where there's an age limit and quality of, man, you heard me say this before. If you've listened to me, yeah, you've listened to me, you've heard this before. So, all of that stuff. um, so yeah, nice use of taxpayers' money up there by our cops in Dublin and Pear Street Guard Station. That was so that's where all that stuff came from. Right, come on down to Cork City, the real capital, guys. You all know it is. Come on, Dublin's on lockdown. Let's yeah, we're the real capital of Ireland now for a while. And yeah, the cops down below here on Saturday, down below in Kinsale, Some poor woman was targeted again in an intelligence-led operation, where intelligence, somebody was snitching, or else somebody just wasn't careful, and the guards infiltrated their network and knew what they were doing. But this woman got stopped anyway, and they found that she was carrying what was it? She was carrying 2,900 euro worth of cannabis. Yeah, and then they went back then and found 8,300 euro worth of cannabis back in her house too. So there you go, 12,000 euro worth of cannabis from Kinsale now, not going to be getting to people around the place. I don't know if you know that person at all, like, but let me know. Is that person a nice person? Is this a person who should be supported? They're going to be in Bishopstown Court, or Bishopstown Court, geez, Bandon Court, on the 2nd of October. Um, so it'd be interesting. I'll keep an eye out to see what happens there, but most likely it's just going to be brought in front of the judge. The judge is going to accept jurisdiction and set a hearing date of sometime next year. Meanwhile, the person is probably going to be left free to go out and worry and the anxiety of what the future might hold and what the judge might decide to do to him. Um, yeah, should he decide to punish him? So yeah, that was Kinsale. Then we go from Kinsale, we get a little bit closer to the city. We come up to Bishopstown, and in Bishopstown there was 23,000 euro worth of cannabis found in a house. The cops took it upon themselves to go raid a gaff at 2 o'clock in the morning. That must have been quite an experience where the people involved um, shot, whoops, 2 o'clock in the morning, and boom, 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 open up. It's the cops. It's the Gardaí. Um, who knows? It's just touch wood. Like, Jesus, I don't jinx myself, but it's just an experience I don't want to ever have to go through. I've heard about it. I've listened to people tell me about it. I missed one by a couple of hours one time above in my cousin's house. Happened to just be there and left. And a couple of hours later, the boys in blue came up and to raid the place, and just happened to miss it. So I don't really know what goes on. But from what I hear, it's not a pleasant experience at all. My buddy here, actually, whose house I'm in like right now, who used to have a grow room here, the cops came in the first time that he got raided twice. The first time the cops came into his house, um, he had nothing growing at the time, but he had the tent set up. Everything was up. The lights were up. Like, nothing was on at all. He was after harvesting his cannabis, and he got a little bit lazy and he didn't go growing at all because he likes to do retreats and stuff. He was on a bit of a religious retreat there as well. And when he got back, he had a little bit of cannabis. I think he had like 7 or 8 grams worth of, and it was just a shake leaf that he had left. And he was just talking away and that stuff. Like, it was doing the job for him. He was happy out. And the cops raided his gaff, and that's all they found. Like, was just a shake leaf, 7 or 8 grams of it. They come in and they're looking at his grow tent set up. He had two tents set up, one for flower, one for veg, and nothing in them, pots in them, like no plants at all, nothing illegal except a little bit of cannabis. They couldn't do anything, and they went away and left all the gear there. He never actually even went to court for that little bit of shake because the cops still never got the summons to him, even though he's been to court for his second raid, which was when they came back by accident 3 or 4 years later. This was because the fire brigade came into the house because of a faulty fire alarm. And my buddy, again, religious guy, he was at mass that morning praying. And when he came back, he seen a guard up in his balcony, and he was like, "What the hell's going on there?" Like, and yeah, the cops came into his gaff, but he got off with that anyway because they never had a warrant to come in and raid his house that time. So he got lucky that second time, but they still never brought him to court for that first time when they caught him with the shake. So they're quite inefficient in what they do, like our justice system or whatever. Um, but when they raided his house that first time, they trashed it. I mean, they trashed it. He had his whole bedroom torn asunder, like all his drawers emptied, like clothes all taken out of cupboards, bed and mattress turned upside down. They emptied his cupboards. They emptied a bag of flour all over his kitchen floor, like all over his bed, and then they trampled it, like footprints of it all over the house. Then they've wrecked his place, absolutely wrecked it. The second time they came and raided his house, when he actually had the plants growing, um, and remember I said that they had no warrant to come in this time. It was the fire brigade came in. The fire brigade found the plants. They rang the guards. The guards came. No warrant obtained, so he got off with it. They trashed his gaff again. He still doesn't have his door fixed. He has a barricade in his door where there's a plank of wood going from the wall to the door to keep the door closed because the frame of the door is all bust. Um, he just hasn't been able to get around to fix it. He still hasn't had money returned to him at all since the case. He had money there for his son for his birthday in a birthday card, and they took it. It was in the birthday card, and they took the money. Like it was like €500, I think. Not to be, I suppose, spilling his business. What he gives his son for his John was his 21st birthday, so it's a significant one too, and that was taken off him. Scummy, like there's no need for it. Like the guy was growing a couple of plants, like no sympathy at all. Guy is an list of ailments there as long as my arm, takes medication longer than that again. And cannabis alleviates a lot of the symptoms. One of his major issues is chronic pain because of an old motorbike crash where he had serious damage to his shoulder. Cannabis alleviates symptoms of him, and it reduces his reliance on some of these heavier medications. The cops came bust down his door, and yeah, it's a sad world, sad world. And yeah, in this one actually in Bishopstown, a teen, a teen it says was arrested, a late teenager. So I don't know what that means. Like, is it 19, 18? What's late teens? 18, 19? It's hardly 17, like, surely. I don't know. But it didn't say, like, it just said late teens. So I'm imagining 18, 19, quite young to be caught with €23,000 worth of cannabis and €1,000, 700 or €1,700 worth of cash. Not small at all. He owes somebody money now. I'd imagine he'd like, he had cash there building up to pay off probably what he got in tick. Probably most likely got this on tick. Um, no part, like I don't know too many people in their late teens who are going to come up with, like, I don't know, a kilo of cannabis is about eight grand maybe. I don't know, COVID price like 8 grand if you're paying cash. I don't know. But yeah, he owes somebody money now, and that's going to be dangerous for him. And I hope he doesn't do any ratting. I hope there isn't any more intelligence-led operations after this, because he might be implicated in this, and there might be a retaliation against him. Like, these are the dangers of drug prohibition. Like, just look at what went on in Mexico with all the drug cartels. Like, this sort of stuff is going to start happening here in Ireland as the violence in the drug gangs escalates, as they get fight harder for their turf and their territories, as more and more of their drugs get raided, and all of this. So yeah, another story from Cork, guys. As I say, this was only an update on a thing I covered last week. So last Friday, I covered a case there where there was €40,000 worth of cannabis seized in Cork. A young fella, a man in his 20s, I'm pretty sure he is. Um, yeah, Ikran Aslam is his name. It's given in the court paper, or in the paper there anyway. He was caught in Fairhill with €5,000 worth of cannabis. So like €5,000, that's like just over a half a kilo. No, it's less than half a kilo. What am I saying? It's just over a quarter of a kilo. About a quarter of a kilo. This guy got caught with about 9 ounces or something like that, in his car. He was probably dropping that off to somebody who was going to resell it up around Fairhill. They followed up with a search back at his gaff, and they found 35 grand worth of cannabis as well. and they found a bit of cash there as well in that. But he was up in court today for that, and yeah, he's going to be kept in now. And they're no, they're objecting to bail in his case, so they're going to look to keep this guy in custody. So I think he's in court now today, looking to get bail, but there's going to be an objection put in against it. So yeah, that was just a little update, and that there's going to be more time wasted in court today because of this. I haven't heard any updates as of yet. I was hoping before they would have went to news today to have an outcome of as to what happened here in this case. But my educated guess on this is this case is just going to be put back for a hearing at a later date. Um, I'm a bit a gambling man at times, only because of the lads at the weekend actually the poker. But I'm gonna bet that it's February. What are we in now? Yeah, I'm gonna say his case is put back till February. Let's see anyway. So then there was other news there from Ireland too. In the case of Mr. Big, so your man Mr. Big there and our cops, they were out there talking about this there again in one of the articles. Um, I meant to put together a little scene on this, but I haven't actually got it up here. I just mustn't have put it together. But yeah, the cops are talking that like a couple of kingpins in the drugs trade, basically they chipped in together to buy 50 kilos of cannabis of cocaine. Oh, that's why I didn't put it in actually. I was going to leave this one out because there's not a whole lot in there basically related to cocaine. But like this will tell you guys like that the cops are watching these guys and they know who's involved in these drug trades. Like they know full well, but they're unable to catch the top guys. They'll talk about them. They've intelligence-led operations. Like, but I'd imagine this girl who got caught in Kinsale, like she's not the kingpin. She's not the head honcho at all. Like she's just some foot soldier, maybe a little bit higher up than your average foot soldier, but just a foot soldier nonetheless. More like no offense to this person, but like a nobody in the world of drugs, in the drug world, in the drug gang world. I don't know how you want to put that, but like she's a nobody. And this young fella, this teen who they caught with 23 grand's worth of cannabis, and who's like not the one to scare him, like, but I don't know who he's buying his cannabis off, like, but whose life is possibly in at risk now. Maybe his family would be possibly implicated in this. You hear the horror stories where drug money is owed and a guy wants to get paid. And he wants to get paid by any means necessary. Like, and this could involve showing up to a door, just much like our cops do, at 2 in the morning. And again, much like the cops show up in gang, in their uniform and their numbers with their intimidation. That's exactly how the gang will operate too. If they're the violent type who want to intimidate people in order to get what they're owed. This is prohibition after all, and this is your drug underworld. As long as prohibition remains in place, this is the shit we're going to have where you've young fellas in their late teens selling like cannabis. Like, fair enough, I was there. I was doing this when I was 16. There you go. Like, I don't know, what would you say? Like, that's mid teens. Like, I was selling cannabis then. When I was, what age was I? 17. I got my first kilo of cannabis at 17. A kilo of cannabis is worth, by today's standards, 20,000 euro. So just let that one sink in there, guys. I no shame in admitting this. When I was 17, I got a kilo of cannabis on tick. Got it for 8,000 euros. What I got it for. I was able to pay it off when I wanted to. There was no problem with money or anything like that. Sort me out later on. Um, and I was able to do that at the age of 17. I never forget one night actually. I was after getting a kilo of cannabis, 8,000 euros worth, and I had it in the car. I was going out to countryside, and I was going like splitting it up, and I was going hiding some of it, and I was going bringing back like what I needed to for the while, and as I was there splitting it up, a car came up the laneway, and I swear I had a DVD player in my car, and I had it out, I had it open, I had a DVD on. I don't know, was I had Father Ted on or something like that at the time, as I was just doing my little operation in the car on my Todd. It was about 11 o'clock at night. The laneway had one house that was in the middle of being built on it, and it was a dead end. There was nothing else on the laneway. Nobody else had a reason to be going down there. I instantly thought it was the guards. I swear, I thought I was donezo. Like I really thought I was donezo. As it got closer, then I spotted the BMW reg, yeah, badge, and the car pulled up alongside of me, and I swear now, I had my heart in my throat. I lucky like I didn't need to go to the toilet, because I definitely would have popped more than like I would have shot myself proper, like had I had it in me. But luckily I didn't. The lads pulled up alongside me, and he's like there was four lads in the car, four travellers, and he's like, oh, what you doing down here, lads? What you doing down here? And I was just like, oh, I'm just watching a DVD there, but I was like, just watching a DVD, and I seen him kind of look up and have a glance over, and he spotted the big bag of weed on my passenger seat, and he got out, and he was like, "Oh, I'm getting out there, I'm getting out there." Look, and he got out, he jumped out of the car. I put up my window now, like it was a Toyota Starlet at the time, and it was a manual window. I wound that thing up as fast as I could. I swear to God, started the car. And in the space of time, your man ran around my car, came around to the passenger side. He smashed in my back window. I was spinning the wheels trying to get away from the guy. And because of where I was parked on the laneway, like I wasn't getting proper traction at all at first, like. But he had enough time to smash in my back window. He was leaning in my window as I was driving, and he snatched a half bar out of the back of the car, which was about 4.5 ounces. I had robbed in me that night. Fucking terrified I was, Dan. I swear, like I got away, like I smashed back window, my back passenger side door glass was smashed in. A half bar of cannabis, 4.5 ounces that I had in there, like, but luckily, like there was a couple of other 4.5 ounce bags there that he only got to one of them, and I got away with me health, like except like like, the bit of the shit scared out of me, and just uh ooh, I can look back and laugh now at that, like, but jeez, lad, I was rattling that night, rattling, like, and this is the dangers, like, what would have happened had I not got away? Had I frozen that night? Had that fella got out and get me, hit me a few slaps, robbed my cannabis off me, and do you know, maybe he, like I seen his face, maybe he would have, there's nothing linking them to the area, maybe outside of their tire tracks or whatever, like, but I don't know how well our CSI are in this country, like, or how traceable that car actually would have been to him, like, but potentially, like, they could have just killed me and left me there to die, and decided the road, like, in a ditch somewhere, um, all for, a little bit of herb. That would be worth pennies if it was legal and regulated, and not illegal under the model of prohibition. So, that's just my little story there for the end of today's 420 news segment, guys. So, that's all I have to add in there to that. I hope you enjoyed today's 420 news and the little personal story there at the end of it. I just hop on over here to the comments, and see what's happening out there. See how you all are, guys. Where are you? Where are you? Oh, here we are. Oh, Sandra Condon was asking me, am I Martin Condon? I am Sandra. Nice to meet you. I see you're Condon as well. How are you doing? I'll be snooping there now later to see where are we related somewhere. We have Kane Rodriguez. It's better than having the guards busting into your living room, though. Yeah, I don't know what that was in relation to, but I'd agree with you, man. And thanks very much for your comment. I appreciate everyone's participation here in the show. And we have Dave, Tony Montana style. Yeah. Yeah, Tony Montana. Yeah, man. Nice one again, Dave. Loyal viewer there. Always tuning in for these live shows. So, guys, that's all the comments here. At least that's all I'm seeing on my side of the screen today. As I say, I hope you've enjoyed this show. I'll be back with you again Wednesday, and I hopefully should have an interview or two to release there over the next 2 days. I'll hold back on who the guests are there until I have him in my hand and I'm actually releasing him. So until then, guys, keep it real, stay blazed, keep her lit. Peace.